or anything like that. Can you guys hear me? I got some new technology things over here, so I want to make sure everything is right for everybody on tonight. Again, it's Wednesday, March 24th, 2021. And about this time a year ago, if you're like me, you were in the house going stir crazy. We were all on unofficial house arrest because the pandemic had hit and we couldn't go to some of our favorite places, some of our favorite eateries. So to see where we are a year later is such a great feeling to see everyone still practicing social distancing, still wearing their masks. People are getting vaccinated left and right. I have been vaccinated. I have taken both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. So I'm very excited that I am a part of that team and a part of the people who are out here getting vaccinated. So if you are on part of the same team as well, shout out to you. If you are thinking about it, please consider it. Please, sir, please, ma'am. It would be great to have you on the other side of helping navigate through this pandemic. Tonight's show is going to be amazing. You guys know how the show goes, how the show is operated. You guys know if you're watching, we have a couple of housekeeping rules. So like the broadcast, comment during the broadcast, share the broadcast. And if you're on the YouTube channel, you can also click that subscribe button at the top or at the bottom of the page. I'm not sure, but like, comment, share, and subscribe. That's all that I ask. If you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, we have different levels of show sponsorship where we're looking to, share out some great businesses out there, small businesses who are doing some great things and have some products and services and things like that. So if you're interested in becoming a show sponsor, please feel free to email me at drcalvin.green@gmail.com. It'll be great to hear from you, great to work with you, great to sponsor your business on the show, and just let more people know about some of the great things that you're actually out there doing in the community and with regards to your business. So if you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. If you're watching, let me know where you're watching from. Put in the chat where you're watching from. As you know, I'm in the DC area, so I'm going to hold it down tonight for the whole DMV, the DC area, the Maryland area, and the Virginia area. So if you're watching the show on tonight, let me know where you're watching from as well. I would love to shout you out, and I would love to show you some love as you're showing me love each and every week. Again, this is your first time watching. Thank you. If you're a repeat watcher, I appreciate you even more. This is something that came up during the pandemic about a year ago. I just wanted to provide a safe space and a platform for individuals to talk about different various topics. So if you're watching for the first time, I've done shows about parenting in a pandemic. We've had a show about pastoring in a pandemic. Some of the other former shows are, I can recall, but I've had some Black female educators on, some Black males in higher ed, planning for what if something happens? How do you know how to maneuver if you need to have a will or if you need to have burial needs? So I had a funeral director on as well. And any of those past and former shows are actually on the YouTube channel. So you can actually go back to the YouTube channel and you can watch those shows if they are synced in chronological order with regards to how they've been aired over the past couple of months. We've been doing this thing since August 2020. So a quick shout out to Tasha Clay. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining tonight, Tasha. I'm going to do you one even better. I'm going to go back to last week's notes because I can. And I want to say tonight's sponsor is Tasha's business, A Touch of Tennille. So atouchoftennille.com is her website. So I'm going to let her be my show sponsor again tonight because she does some amazing things. And please go and support Tasha's business. It's www.atouchoftennille.com. She does some great things for teachers, and Teacher Appreciation Week is coming up. So I want you guys to go over to Tasha's site, A Touch of Tennille, tell her Doc sent you, and get some of those great products that she has out there for teachers and educators and staff as well. So if you're like in my building, we celebrate everybody. It's not just Teacher Appreciation Week. We celebrate the entire staff. So send them to atouchoftennille.com and let them know that Doc sent you. So tonight, guys, I'm so excited because tonight's show is just like any other show that I've had. But I want to take it up a notch every week. What I wanted to do this year was I wanted to have some more one-on-one conversations with individuals as we continue to maneuver through this pandemic who are just doing some great things. I am getting a little feedback. Let me know if you guys are okay. Can you guys hear me good? Tasha, let me know if I sound like Teddy Riley or not. And also, if my mom is watching so she doesn't get me, Tasha, tell me if my lips are ashy because I can't be on the internet looking like I don't have any home training. So let me know if I'm good. Tonight's show is going to be amazing. I'm so excited about my guest on tonight. My guest on tonight is doing some amazingly great things in the community, in the educational sector, and just overall, just a brother that I'm so proud to be connected to, that I have been seeing do some amazing things. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to reach out. And I'm in a space now where I'm just taking chances. I'm reaching out to people and just seeing if they are even just interested in coming on and just sharing some of the great things that they're doing and some of their professional and personal journeys as we provide this platform to talk about different things. So tonight is just a one-on-one conversation with Dr. Gemar Mills. Dr. Gemar Mills is an amazing individual who, like I said, I'm connected with through the power of social media. I've been following this brother for a while. He's doing some amazingly great things. However, since he's on the show for the first time, if you know me and you rock with me, you know there's only one way that I can bring this brother on. And I believe in celebrating people while they're still alive. So if you allow me, like they say at church, a moment of personal privilege to bring my brother on the right way, hold on for me. Doc, how are you, man?
I'm doing well, man. How's everything?
Man, everything is everything. Everything is going well. I am just so excited to have you tonight, man. I know you are a very, very busy individual. So to just have you on with me for just a small piece of time to share this virtual space, I'm so honored, man, to just have you on and just thank you. Just thank you.
You're welcome, man. I'm happy to be here. I mean, I like what you're doing. I like what you got going on. I've reviewed a lot of the content just to you know how you're doing things, and it's high quality. It's exactly what people need to know in the experiences we've been having, and specifically like the Black community over this year.
I appreciate you, man. This is crazy. This just was birthed during COVID. I've only been doing this since August, so I try to just take it up a notch every week and get this good content out and talk about different topics or just have one-on-one conversations with individuals just about different things. So tonight is going to be like none other. It's going to be just as different and just as spectacular because of you and who you are and what you do, man. So just thank you again for joining me, man. I'm honored. That's all I can say, man. I'm honored to have dialogues with docs tonight. There's an S at the end. There's an S at the end. So we're having dialogues with docs tonight. And this is also another unofficial Black Males in Education episode as well, because I got another brother in the struggle like me that's doing some great things. So I'm having 2 shows a night for those that are watching. So Doc, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing jumping. Can you just tell me a little bit about you for someone that's watching that's never heard of you before and what it is that you actually do?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a regular person, you know, that found his passion and calling in education. I started off really early, got into the profession as a substitute teacher at the age of 19, transitioned into a math teacher at the age of 22, and in a very short period of time, got into administration. And so I was the youngest chairperson of mathematics in Newark, New Jersey, at the age of 25, then becoming a vice principal a year later. And then 1 year after that, actually becoming the principal of the worst school in New Jersey, Malcolm X Shabazz High School, and the bottom 15% in the country. And I probably got that position not because I was just like this amazing administrator. No one really wanted the job. You know, I was the 4th principal coming in over 4 years, and you know, the alumni, the students just believed that I was the right person for the job. And I got my opportunity at the age of 27. And in 1 school year, we doubled the literacy scores. We nearly doubled the math scores. And from there, I think that it's where like the media came to find out how did I do it. And so they did documentaries, we won Emmys, we did all these things, which propelled my career into some national work. From doing the national work with 50 schools across 8 different states, 9 different cities. We did that work. I submitted some applications for some grants. I did not get the grant. Shout out to Lorraine Powell Jobs, Steve Jobs' widow. We didn't get the $50 million, but we did submit for some schools, some charter schools locally, and we were awarded those schools. And so College Achieve Public Schools is currently servicing 3 districts in New Jersey, over 3,000 students, and from K through 12. So yeah, it's been a journey, just in terms of like to profession, and then also what has kind of been the byproduct of the work, which is just, people wanting to connect and me doing things outside of the work to further, my people,
I love it. I love it, man. And it's crazy. I'm gonna go back to something that you said. You said you started out as a substitute teacher, and you just continue to excel, and you added a brick to this to go on top of it, and it just continued to grow. You said you were a math teacher.
Yep.
So here you are, an individual excelling in an area where many of our Black and brown boys struggle.
Yep.
How impactful do you think? And this isn't even a question that I tried. This is just something that just came out of this conversation. How important do you think it was for them to see someone who made math attainable or made math relatable? We're in a world. This is an area where so many of our Black and brown boys struggle.
Yeah. So you know what it is. I think that one, just being a brother, working with Black and brown children, them understanding like it's okay for us to actually be smart. And so mathematics is often viewed as a subject that people don't necessarily gravitate to, specifically people of color. We find that, many of Asian descent and or Caucasian descent seem to be thriving there is the myth, right? So I think that it was huge. And strangely enough, I didn't choose math because I thought that I was the smartest math guy. I was really good at math. I did all of the physics and the calculus, the 1, 2s, and 3s, but it was just the easiest subject for me. When we think about, literacy and history and science, I just loved that I could solve a problem. And so that's what made it passionate for me and relatable for the young people, and actually how I got my opportunity to be the chairperson. My students, the first year of my working with them, the 80 students, about 50% of them, a little more than 50% of them, passed their standardized assessment, which was like, whoa, what is this guy doing in there? A lot of it had to do with just me being me, more so than me being a math teacher.
It's like, hey guys, there's more to math than just learning how to count your money. There's levels to this. There are things that you need to know as you continue to grow and get older that you may not even think. And I still remember, I'll never forget the first step of a proof in geometry is a given. There are just some things that you never forget from math. So no, you're right. I want to go back to something you said about the math thing. Well, as an educator, I like to ask this question to think. Get my other thought partners to think with me. At what age did you have your first Black male teacher, and how do you think that affected you? So I know for me, when I asked this question on another show to my other Black male educators, it wasn't until I was in 9th grade. And this gentleman actually wasn't even my teacher. He was my ROTC instructor, attempting to get me to sign up to enlist in the service upon graduation. Wow. So he was a teacher, but he really wasn't my teacher. So I had to really just say, I really don't think I had a Black male teacher until I got to college, and my first Black male teacher was my history professor. So for you, at what age can you recall when you had your first Black male teacher?
Yeah, so I have a similar story. Through grade school, I had no Black male teachers, none. And even getting to high school, I still didn't experience a Black male teacher. What I had was Black male coaches that were teachers, but they weren't my teachers specifically. And so that was my first encounter with just learning what it meant to be a male growing up in the situations that we were growing up in the circumstances in the hands that we were dealt in the country, and really thinking about how do you become a force and be principled within the constructs of America's layered, history with Black Americans. And so it was definitely in ninth grade where I began to have that experience and then began to learn things that I had never knew about, such as fraternities and sororities and, things of that nature. And then even through college, now that I think about it, I still didn't experience a black male teacher. I've had teachers of color, but not specifically black males. So it was a shortage of where I was coming up and who had the jobs. I would say that majority of my teachers were white women. They were white women. And then my coaches often were, black males.
Gotcha. No, you're on it, man. Tasha, I see you. Your first direct black man teacher was Dr. Walton, Dr. Weldon J. Walton at Paul Quinn College. I had the same professor for biology, and this man didn't have notes. He would just come in with a piece of chalk in his white lab coat, and he knew where he stopped off on Tuesday. So when he came back Thursday for biology, he picked right back up and started just writing on the board. It's just amazing to me how when I ask people this question as other black male educators, what our young black and brown boys have now, we never experienced that. So thank you for sharing that, bro. Doc, when you let me go here. When you're doing a lot of things, and at the end of the day, Dr. Mills is winning. So How did you develop your winning mindset, man? Like you said you say that you're just a regular, ordinary guy. Doc, you got essential water, one of my favorite waters following you, backing you. You're turning Brick City into Dream City. You're doing so many amazing things, and you're saving hashtag I save lives daily. How did you just develop this winning mindset, man?
I would say definitely perseverance, but also like failing, right? So I know we're talking about this winning mindset, but the power of failing and not giving up, right? So actually failing forward, because I didn't grow up with a ton of, stuff and material items and wealth. I grew up, born to a mom who was single. I got pregnant when she was 15, had me when she was 16, had my sister when she was 17. We were growing up in the housing projects. It was tough, humble beginnings, but what I had was a exploratory mind. I wanted to know what was going on, and whatever I can gain access to, I wanted to, and I wanted to learn and digest. And I would say that there was definitely the influence of my mother, that even though she hadn't pursued education as a way out of poverty, she knew that it was a valuable way of getting out. And so like her influence on just staying focused was extremely important for me to develop that winning mindset. Her consistently saying, try it. Even if it doesn't work out, you're going to do it anyway, not allowing me to give up. And then me taking those wise words into sports. Sports was the first place where I had a leadership position. As a junior in high school, being a captain of the football team is where I realized that, whoa, I have voice. People are actually listening to the things that I'm saying, and they're in my age group or younger or older. And so these are the things that begin to just be like staples in a way in which I live my life. And then as you add on more mentors, right, to teach you about being a principled man and what it takes to be successful and what it looks like to win, and that it isn't all just ups, right? That it may be 2 ups, 4 downs, and several ups to get you to where you need to be. And so understanding that there's a process to winning has always given me the opportunity to look at my failures as a success. And so when people report the bad, I've embraced it as an opportunity for me to show you how good I can be at a thing, right? It's like that accountability piece that I'm embracing to ensure that the win is definitely in the horizon. And so I like to pride myself on being a problem solver. Like that is like the key. How do we solve big problems in this country and in the world? And I think all those things has attributed to my success, right? Like people reaching out to me and saying, hey, we really like what you're doing.
We need you over here to help us do what you're doing.
And I embrace it, and I just keep pushing. And I think humble, understanding that, this is as much to whom much is given, much is required. and I got to put the work in if I'm going to keep having the success that I've been having.
Exactly, Doc. And I'm not being rude, I promise. I'm over here writing show notes. So if you see me looking down,
Oh, you're good. You're
I'm
good.
always taking notes, man. You said failing forward. So many of us don't understand how impactful that is to understand what that means. Everything in life isn't going to be peaches and cream, but it's when you fail or when you don't win at something, which is where you find your footing and your ground and you're able to recalibrate and do a 180, sometimes a 360 initially to turn back into a 180 to get your focus back. And then you said the exploratory mind. This is one thing I pride myself on teaching my students daily to make them reflect. There's life outside of DC. So I'm working with my seniors. Well, I'm going to just stay in DC and go to UDC or go here or go there. There's so much of life that is out there waiting for you, but you have to explore and get out of your comfort zone and change your mindset. So this is the work that we do daily with students, trying to get them to understand there's so much more than what you see right now. You're focused on the right now, but do some research, get on Google or get on something to explore more of what's out there for you. So I love when you said that. Now, you said you started out substitute teaching at 19.
Yeah.
Became a department chair at 25. And then you said, I'm just going to throw my name in the hat to become a principal. And nobody wanted the job. And you now become the principal of Malcolm X Shabazz High School. Can you just share a snapshot of what some of the challenges related to the culture of Shabazz were before you took the lead?
Oh, sure. You have a lot of snapshots. And for those of you who are watching, if you want to see like the documentary, it's called Saving Shabazz. You can check that out. It actually won an Emmy because of just like, I guess, the way it was shot, or how real the story is, because it was a real thing. But the culture of Shabazz, me getting the job and people labeling it Baghdad, right? Mm-hmm. Because there were actual shootings on the campus. So we would go out for fire drills and there'd be rival gang members out there and they would be trying to retaliate right there on the school's campus. So these are all things that were happening. The culture was very social. So if you've been to a packed mall and you've seen people kind of walking around and hanging out and trying to figure things out and going in and out of stores, imagine that being a high school. And, they're in and out of bathrooms, in and out of classrooms. They're causing ruckus. They're going in and out the front door, the back door. They're sneaking their friends in. I mean, if it could happen inside of a school, it was definitely happening at Shabazz. And so for all of those members, whether it be staff or students that were there at the time, they know what it took for us to get to where we were. And the fact that it happened so rapidly, I think was that's what impressed everyone. But at the end of the day, man, it was a place nobody wanted to be, but I knew it was something I had to do based on stuff students were saying to me, not the adults. It was the students that made me say, okay, I'm going to apply for the job.
Right. And it's challenging because a lot of times when leadership makes decisions, they always say, the typical line of student input or student voice. And a lot of times, students hear that and they put their all into something, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the fact that you said some students pretty much hemmed you up in the corner and said, Dr. Mills, we need you to lead this school and change this thing. And I love how it was someone from in-house. A lot of times they make the mistake of possibly pulling someone from the outside in, but because you're already indoctrinated into the culture, the students, the families, hey, I think this is the best person to help change this culture. And man, you got a whole documentary based off of the work that you did to show the highs, the lows, and the cultural shifts and things like that. So congratulations to you, man. That is awesome work. And I have to go watch the documentary because I had no idea that there was one. So thank you for sharing that. So let's go back to a year ago. You're an educational leader, and this COVID thing hits out of no. Well, we knew it was coming, but there was this. I know for me, take your little white box, put some things in it for about 2 weeks, and you'll come back into the building in no longer than a month, and I'm still sitting at home a year later. what are some things COVID taught you as an educational leader? So I know there have been a lot of things happening since this thing broke a year ago, but as an educational leader, just be reflective for a moment, and can you just share some of the things that COVID has taught you as you continue to lead and excel and make things happen for the scholars and the network that you serve?
Yeah, so COVID has taught me that nothing is sacred, right? Like nothing is sacred in education. We've built all of these constructs about how things are supposed to work and what families can and can't do and what staff members should and shouldn't do and where they need to be in order to get it done. I think that COVID has taught me that all of that is made up just systems by people who've decided that for it to work, it must exist this way. And so outside of like all of the just mess right, that the pandemic has caused with, families experiencing loss, and people being sick, including myself, that schools have the opportunity to really like strike while the iron's hot and never go back to the traditional way we've sought to educate kids, because though there are attendance concerns, there are students thriving in the virtual space.
Yes,
right? Though students want to be in person, there are those students that would much rather be in virtual. And the fact that we're saying to families like, hey, you have a choice, I think is going to change the dynamic of the way we experience school in the future. So I would say that was probably the most impactful thing, was just watching educators who needed to be evaluated X amount of times a year. They just drive, this order, don't worry about that. You don't have to evaluate educators.
Right.
Standardized assessments. You know what? No. Don't worry about that. We're going to see what we're going to have to do with that next year. Like all of those constructs was just like out of the window, and there's still young people that are doing well. And don't mistake me to say that there aren't problems, but understand me to mean that this demonstrates that there is some innovation to be done to take the American education system into its next frontier.
Definitely. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement, because there are scholars who were deemed problem scholars by staff members in the building, and they're excelling online, and there are others who I have come into contact with that I may have had behavioral issues with in the building, who's the first line they say is when they get in trouble, give me online class, just put me online. This is before COVID was even a thing. So you say, give me online classes, and now you have them and you're not even logging in. You're not even doing the bare minimum, and you're a senior at that. So it's amazing how the different shifts have happened in the virtual space, from the students and even the staff. The way that staff is excelling virtually as well, because there are teachers who I've seen struggled in the brick and mortar, but online virtually they're like you said, they're free to be a little bit more creative. You have to be more creative to get kids that want to log in to your class. You have to come up with creative and innovative ways to keep them engaged. So I definitely agree with everything that you just said, brother. You some of the major work that you're doing is closing the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
How challenging has this been? And what are some significant things from your purview that need to happen to prevent this? So you're doing some major work. Let's start with how challenging has this work been? Let's start there.
Yeah, I mean, the first challenge, or the greatest challenge, is convincing people that we could actually be successful, and we could like mitigate crime without as many prisons as currently exist. And so I think dismantling the construct that, if you're a criminal, you need to go to jail, right? It's not that you don't need to have a consequence, is that it's what Frederick Douglass says, which I'm always trying to convince people to understand, which is it is easier to prepare young men than repair broken adults, right? And so if we can actually not need to repair a bunch of older adults and just make sure that we're preparing young people in the right way, then guess what? We'll need less and less prisons. And I think one of the things that lends itself to that belief is bail reform. So for states that actually have bail reform and no bail bondsmen anymore, that once you get processed, they're pushing you to see the judge, and then you're actually getting out and going home. Crime hasn't risen significantly, and in some instances, it's actually dropped. And prisons are no longer filled to capacity. And I would even argue that there's anywhere between 40 to 50% less populated, that people are actually able to be home, handling their business, and still ensuring that they serve whatever time and or responsibility they have to serve. And so the work has been challenging, and just like convincing people that it's possible, and in understanding how. And so my how is really simple. If I take the statistics of how prisons are created, and that is through third grade reading scores. They identify them and they determine that this is the right place to open up a prison, because if these students can't read in third grade, research says they will likely be a prisoner or a criminal.
That's it.
So then I say, if we work harder to ensure that students are proficient readers in third grade, then we can begin to mitigate the need for prisons throughout our country. And as simplistic as that sounds, I think that is doable if we commit to actually trying to improve student reading ability, because the better we are at reading, the better we are at understanding and comprehending, the better we are at writing, thinking critically, and now we have better choices, as opposed to saying there's nothing left for me to do but rob or kill or commit a crime. And so that is the work, that is the goal. Again, the hard part is like switching someone's mindset to understand that I'm not saying that people won't commit crimes. What I am saying is, if we can get in front of it,
thank you,
we won't need as many jails as we currently have.
We're so reactive when we should be proactive.
Yeah, and guess what? Maybe the amount of dollars that is being spent to actually facilitate prisoners and these state entities, these tax dollars, could go to pay down the loan debt of college graduates. Maybe we can go on some sort of a fixed income opportunities in certain cities to reduce homelessness or provide free housing for those in need. Like, there's so much other things that we can be doing with those dollars, when as opposed to spending it to feed the imprisoned population, to herd them inside of a prison, or to provide them with our rooms and room and board inside of a prison. I think that the money could be diverted if we could solve that problem.
That's it. And it's crazy you say that, because people really don't think about it till you break it down like you just did. You think and you reflect. They will build a prison before they build a school, or they'll build and fund a prison before whatever city or county you live in has to put forth a bond bill to get people to vote on to build a new school or to repair an existing school or things like that. So no, you're so on point with saying everything. And it's crazy how, because I didn't even really understand until I worked in Philadelphia. I was working for the school district of Philadelphia at one time. And so one of the focuses was an anchor goal, where the goal was to get as many kids to read on grade level by fourth grade. And I was on the high school side. So I kept wondering why they kept pulling money from my area, because my area was college and career readiness. But the more the focus was put on the reading on grade level by fourth grade piece, when I'm like, well, you still can't forget about the kids that are about to graduate. So we still have to find a happy medium as far as funding and grants and funding and money dissemination, so that both areas can sustain. So no, I love when you said that. Doc, you have become like this school turnaround guru. So can we talk about Can we talk about tonight school turnaround and how important and impactful is it? So this school turnaround thing is what you are.
Yeah.
You're in the trenches. I can't even say you're doing the work. You're in the trenches doing the work. You're up to your neck in it, and the people are calling you to say, "Hey, Dr. Mills, can you share with us some insight, or can you come do a site visit, or can you just come, just share with us, let us know how we can become better." So, how impactful is this work, and how important is it?
I mean, I think that, you know, impact is relative to the place that you find a school. And so when we're talking school turnaround, we're typically talking about very low graduation rates. We're talking about very high suspension rates. And if we dig into research on suspension rates and that adding to the percentage of students that are going to prison who are predominantly Black males, in that suspension number, that is extremely impactful to get into a school and be able to say, hey, we're going to mitigate student infractions by 50% immediately. We're going to begin to see test scores rise in both literacy and mathematics immediately. We're going to begin to evaluate curriculum and determine where the gaps are and why students are failing this test, right? Like, it isn't that we aren't doing work and working hard, but if you're working hard at trying to change a car tire, but putting it on an airplane, then you're definitely not going to get the job done. And so the concept of the school turnaround is really figuring out how to make sure that we're using the right tools on the right object in order to get students to where they need to be. And so people get really, really lost in the climate and culture and want to put that first, when what I believe is that these two things should be happening simultaneously, that you can't have strong climate culture and weak academics, that these two things need to exist and grow together because they're indicative of each other, right? Strong academics mitigates poor climate culture. Strong climate and culture will improve academics. And so when those two things are moving together, we begin to see the kind of success you want in the school, and you begin to see it more rapidly than you would have saw at any other point. People tend to put a timeline on growth. You know, significant growth takes 3 or 4 years. I'm a firm believer that you can do these things really fast if you just have, for me, there's 5 levers of change. And so the first one is the mindset of your staff. You know, they even believe that this is possible, right? And what do you need to do to commit them to doing that, right? And then, no,
just let me jump in. So y'all, because you're leading, so I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it up there. This thing right here, the turnaround, 180 days of change. So Doc, go right ahead.
All right, thank you. So what he's sharing is the book that really consolidates the 5 levers of change. And so it's 2 parts. There's a black piece, there's a gold piece. The black part of the book is the turnaround that it took in my life, which prepared me for the turnaround of schools. And that's the gold. And in the gold, we begin to dig into those 5 levers of change. So I've talked about the mindset lever, which is extremely important, and I give insight to that in the book. The next one, of course, is structures. So how are we structuring school buildings? How are we structuring administrative cabinets? Here's a simple fix for anybody that's interested. If you are in a school and your administrative teams, the administration is grade level, it's highly likely that you're suffering. And here's why: because one administrator responsible for training teachers, for holding teachers accountable through evaluations, for contacting parents, for managing the process between a student getting in trouble and meeting with the parent and facilitating that with the teacher. It doesn't matter if you only servicing 25 students. It's too much. It's too much stuff. And so what I've done in terms of a quick shift in structure was we made lanes. If you are responsible for discipline, that's all you do is climate and culture. That's it. If you're responsible for academics, be the greatest academic administrators you've ever been. And the 2 paths don't need to cross. We just need to meet to know that we're moving these things at the same speed. The third one, of course, is professional development. We tend to believe that teachers just know everything because they've graduated from college, but the truth is, it's a lot of theory. So you got to PD them for the practice of the theory. Another lever is monitoring it all, right? So inspecting what you expect. And so within the book, I give a couple of examples of the way in which we were able to commit to 100 walkthroughs every 2 weeks. You know, that may seem like a lot, but it's doable when you have 5 people and they're committed to one walkthrough a day, which for each of their teachers, which gets you to that 20 number. And then lastly, the curriculum. How is curriculum overlapping, right? Are we aware that physics, chemistry, and biology are independent subjects of each other, and that I don't need to teach one before the next? And so if I understand that physics is actually algebra based and I'm going to offer freshman algebra, why not offer physics first?
Yeah.
So these are things that we were doing to try and accelerate the deficiencies of young people coming to us that were totally not on the algebra level, right? And then digging into curriculum again to figure out, you know, how does the puzzle fit? Is it chapter 1, 5, 8, 2, 3? Or is it just chapters 1 through 8? Knowing that set teachers up powerfully to teach the content that we're going to get the students over the hump. And so I digress. If you want to get the book, I think go ahead.
So Doc, no, you're on it, man. I do have one question about the book though.
Yes.
Where is the workbook to do the work?
So I already know, right? So I'm working on the workbook. I'm actually just finished up an actual children's book that focuses on racial bias. So that's going to hit the market within a week or so. But the workbook for the turnaround is coming. And so strangely enough, I've actually created a series of free Zoom meetings where educators are going to be able to log on. And I'm going to dig into mindset and literally the five lessons you can do with your own staff.
Got it.
Right. And then that will turn into the workbook. So it's on the way. We definitely on the same wavelength. I do know sometimes you need it explicit, you know. And so like an example of one of the lessons within the workbook is going to be around integrity. And so one of the things I did with the staff is integrity for me means you keeping your word. And so when you make a promise, you keep the promise.
Yeah.
And if you can't keep the promise, either don't make it or commit to a new promise. And so I literally take our teachers and staff through a process that forces them to begin to hold themselves accountable to the things that come out of their mouth, because where your power is in your word. And once your word is weak, then no one can follow you. And so if you can be in integrity every day, you become extremely powerful in the spaces that you take up. And so through the mindset training, I really dig into the components of integrity, and then teaching you through exercise how to begin to put your word where your mouth is.
Yeah. And it's crazy you say that, because working in a high school, if I tell a student something, they're gonna hold me to it. Well, Green, you said this is how I know they really mad at me. Normally they say, Dr. Green, hey Dr. Green, they'll come, now Green, you told me you were gonna buy me lunch today. I'm like, did I say that? I'm like, yeah. So now you calling me out in front of your crew. So I got to honor my word. I have to check myself, and you know what? Exactly. I did say that. Let me go to Papa John's really quickly and get you what I said, because like you said, your word is all you have. And when you're working with students, especially, they will remind you of, well, no, Dr. Mills, you said da da da. You're like, dang, I did. So let me continue to exude my integrity and do what I said I'm going to do. No, exactly. I love it. And bro, this book that you put out, I've been reading. I've started reading it, and I'm just amazed at how You know how you read a book and you're like, dang, I'm still reading. It's such a quick read. You're like, I'm on the next chapter. I was like, no, I love how you just was like, bam, this is what it is. These are some ways you can fix it, or here's some insight on this, and let's go to the next step. So I'm appreciative of that, because sometimes reading a book can become boring and you're like, dang, I'm still reading chapter 1. But no, this is definitely a quick read on the 5 transformative methods to rapidly improve your school. So I'm definitely excited to have it. You see, I came tonight ready, got my hat on.
See you.
I like to support my people,
Appreciate
man.
That.
I'm rocking with you, man. Like I said, I've been watching you for a minute, and it's like the work that you're doing, even the children's book thing, is just like mind blowing. And it's going to be so impactful in so many ways that you haven't even tipped the iceberg yet. So I'm just thankful that you're just being the willing vessel or the willing conduit to get what's needed out there. Now that I got your thinking cap on for a second, because I'm feeling like I got my thinking cap on, thinking like you. Let's talk about what you're currently doing. Chief Academic Officer and Executive Director.
Yep.
2 huge responsibilities. How did these 2 converge for you, man? Like, how did you just say, like, okay, sometimes it's like you inherit one because, someone may leave the position or something like that. But these 2 are 2 major key components of keeping a network, or I'm not sure if guys call it network or district, where you are moving. Like, how did this happen? How did these 2 worlds collide?
Yep. And so, it's unique because as a founder of a school, me and my partners, we have to lead the work within the district in which we actually founded. And so in one of those districts, I am the executive director, right? But being a part of a network of schools and doing good work in the district in which I've founded, we want to translate much of that to the other school districts that are a part of the network. And so the chief academic officer hat really spans all of the campuses. And so thinking about how do we standardize things that have been battle tested? So now what makes it actually work is that we're not saying, hey, everyone try this and then we'll see if we're going to keep it. We're saying that we've been beta testing this in the Patterson campus, New Jersey, Patterson, for the last year. It's amazing. And now we're going to replicate this across the district, across the network. And so they're very closely intertwined, which actually mitigates some of the lift, right? Because there's overlap. I think one is just imagine, zooming out, right? So you're zooming in to beta test, make sure things are working and seeing results. And then you're zooming out to say, now let's apply it across the entire network. And so it's definitely been going hand in hand. And I would say that I'm not one person. I'm one person here today, but I have a solid team, man. The team of executive directors and the other campuses are amazing. They're hardworking individuals that do great work. My partners, my chiefs, that we all work to do just good work across the network and make sure that systems are in place to get through a lot of the tough problem solving. And then like the principals are hardworking, in the trenches, doing the hiring, doing the management, doing the curriculum stuff, kind of carrying out all the things that I think should work. It's an army of people that go into one me that allows me to kind of spread my wings and keep doing things outside of just a school.
Exactly. Now, Doc, when you talk about, let me go back. You are doing this now, but before that, what was when you just said, how did you just know it's time for me to do something different from what you were doing before to now doing this? And that's something that just came up. It wasn't something No,
you know what it is? It's innate. And my career and my life, everything has been extremely fast paced. And so to get to where I'm at the age in which I am, it has required me to be accelerated in all that I'm doing. And so the acceleration has caused me to think bigger
Yeah.
and pursue that thought much faster. So where someone may say, yeah, it's 10 years. I'm like, it's 3.
Yeah, 3.
Right. Someone may say, like, and I won't move on the 3rd year if whatever I thought should have occurred in 3 hasn't happened. And so this is the way that it forces me to like really work extremely hard to create an outcome that I know is sustainable and then move on to the next thing. And I think that is what you see, right?
Yeah.
You see me saying, okay, it's time to move into a bigger opportunity in order for me to actually continue being successful the way I am, because you can impact 25 kids in your classroom, or you can impact hundreds of kids in your department, right? Or you can impact thousands of kids as their principal, right? Or you can impact hundreds of thousands of kids across the country, or you can, impact the nation. And so my goal is the world, but I think that I am at the kind of national level right now to try and create that kind of impact. And so I know that this work will be the longest stretch, right? But it's necessary to reach the most people. So that's how I feel like I know when it's time, because I feel it. I know that the impact is there. I know people are ready to carry the torch. I know that there are systems that should not be broken down if they just keep moving the engine the way it was designed to go.
Definitely. No, you just know when it's time.
Yeah.
There's something in you that says, I think my work here is done. And when you
Yes.
hear that, you need to move and move quickly.
Right. And right, like, I'm definitely a believer of God and spiritual in that way, that I'm listening to what's guiding me to make the next steps. And I think it is really how I've avoided some of the missteps that other people may have, or the pitfalls that other people may have experienced, because it seems to be always on time. And
Always.
I'm definitely appreciative of that, and thankful that that God's watching, that He making it happen.
Now, Doc, you're doing a lot of work in the trenches. Yeah, you're doing some things on a bunch of different platforms. How do you find balance in all of this so that you're not so consumed, especially in the midst of this pandemic that some people think is over because they're getting vaccines and things like that, but it's still going on? How do you find balance in the midst of all of this?
Yes. So health is wealth, people. Health is wealth. That's where my balance lies, is where I disconnect. And I'm not just talking about, working out. I'm talking about working out, eating right. I'm talking about meditating. I'm talking about mental wellness. I'm talking about identifying, seminars and programs and apps and things like that are going to assist you in just decluttering your mind in order to continuously go into a space and be your best self, because you're no good to anybody if you are consumed with all the things that are happening. And so for me, there's a lot every day. And so I have a regimen. I wake up every morning at 4:30. I do my morning ritual. I pray, and then I go to the gym, and I'm in the gym for an hour, and then I get ready to start my day. And by the time I'm started, you'd be surprised how many ideas I've come up with, or things that I'm thinking about. And so it's the way that I've been able to like take on a lot more, because I am constantly being aware of my wellness, because man, people want a lot from you.
Yeah.
And you can't give everybody everything. And so your mental health is going to be probably the most important piece. I always say this about being a celebrity, and not so much myself, because I don't consider myself to be that. I know I'm pretty popular, but but when you think about celebrities such as Michael Jackson, like mega stars, he just couldn't function in the traditional world because he had been famous for so long, so early. And it was no disconnect for him anymore. And it made it hard for him just to be human. And so we gotta make sure that we are working on being human, no matter how big we get in this work or any other work.
That's it, man. It's like I love how you said health is wealth, and so many people focus on the physical, but it's the mental, it's the psychological. There are other levels to health is wealth, and we have to be in our best headspace when dealing with students, because they come in with so much baggage, whether it's in the brick and mortar or whether it's virtually. I'm trying to do my work at home, and I can't because of all the clutter and things that are happening around me. So I need to reach out to Dr. Green or Dr. Mills to just help me decompress and help me vent and help me just to get some things off my chest and possibly provide some insight as well to help me push through and navigate this a little bit more. So I love how you said that. Doc, about 2 more questions and I'm done, I promise. Okay.
Yep.
Let me go here. We've been doing this thing for a long time. What are some characteristics that a Black male educator just has to have? You've been doing this thing since 19. You've gone through the trenches, and you're on an even greater administrative level. What are just some things that you've just discovered over this tenure in education that, brother, you just got to have these things if you're gonna make it?
Yep. You have to have, the first thing is consistency, right? Like, brothers, if you're saying you're committed to being successful and being present for students, then you have to show up every day. You got to be on time every day. You got to prepare the lessons every day. You got to mean the things that you say on a daily basis, or you are already facing an uphill battle, because people will begin to doubt you in the work. You need to be the first thought that they think of when the position is being created, that you should be considered. And the reason why is because your consistency has taken you to that next level. Okay. I think the second thing is to be a sponge. You don't know everything. You do not know everything. I don't know everything. And so by embracing the concept that you are also a learner, you can build a ton of wealth and grow faster if you just allow people to help you. You don't have to do it alone. You're not in it alone. There are other people that don't look like you that actually have solutions. You can take that information, you can make it your own, and it'll move your path faster. And then I would say the third thing is to be principled, right? Be principled, because it's going to help guide the decisions you make for young people every day, right? A principled person is a fair person. And when you're fair, you can actually get across to young people in the right way. They won't feel that you're showing favoritism, because being a principal male teacher or Black male or educator, like, you're just saying that was wrong, and this is the byproduct of it being wrong.
Yeah.
Now, it don't matter who you are, what you look like, what you've been through. The action warranted this decision. I think that if you can have those three things, I mean, you can demonstrate your ability, your effectiveness. You can attain information faster than most people, and then you can be a trusted leader because your decisions are rooted in actual beliefs, and they're not based on emotional connections. It's like, here's what I stand for, and I'm not going to allow anybody to change that.
I love it. And I love how you said that. And I had another question, but I'm just going to throw it up there and just say those same 3 rules apply. As an effective leader, be consistent, be a sponge, and be principled, because a lot of times some of our leaders have challenges with that. And I see you, Pastor Chandra. Thank you for saying that, because it's crazy, because these are it's like what grandma said, get back to the basics. These are just some basic principles that will help you no matter what avenue you're traveling down in order to be successful. Doc, what's next for you, man? What's coming down the pipeline? You shared some things already, but for somebody that just hopped on, I want to give you another chance just to share some of the great things that you have coming down the pipeline, or what's next for you. I want to give you that platform and provide you that time as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, so what's to come is definitely the children's book. So the children's book is going to be a series of books. I'm starting with the racial bias piece because it's something that needs to be talked about in at the grade levels of 3 through 5 through 6. We tend to avoid that conversation. I'm trying to make it as easy as possible to have, because students are watching, children are watching, and they're making decisions for themselves. The fact that you're not talking about it doesn't help them, especially if your belief systems around it are also warped. And so they're making decisions based on what they see, and you're not actually addressing them or hearing them. So that's that piece with that book. I'm going to release the turnaround workbook to make it easier for you all to like run through the activities and actually experience what it's like to implement a mindset shift training. Another thing that's on the horizon. So I've partnered with Amazon. And so with this partnership, I'm going to be able to bring you all an online bookstore. So this bookstore will be able to house any book that you've seen on Amazon. But for me, I'm going to categorize it as like my favorite books. We'll have an educators category, which I'm recommending that we all read. And then we'll have just, bestsellers, things that are out there that are like hot topics that I think it'd be quality reading material for people to read. So that's on the horizon. Look out for the commercial. The commercial will be coming out shortly. And then with my Essentia folks, I'm actually heading to do a Essentia takeover. So I'll be taking over their social media in the coming weeks, actually, to just, demonstrate how I've incorporated the actual brand into my life. And then also just being and having success with the water and having fun with it. So I think, for now, that's probably it. That's probably it, outside of just like the traditional work with young people, making sure that they're getting the best resources possible. And as time goes, I'm sure that the network of schools will grow and we'll find ourselves into other states. Right now, we're in New Jersey. But we're just going to keep pushing the culture forward, right? Like we need to understand that it's okay to be educated, that education doesn't necessarily mean that you have degrees, but it means that you have know-how, right? We want to just consistently push and push and push that it's cool to be smart. It's cool to be smart. And that's what I'm trying to demonstrate to the country.
So, Doc, I don't like you right now. Because you basically just told me you're making one of my vices even more challenging. I keep stuff in my Amazon cart. So for you to say you're partnering with Amazon, so that means I'm gonna continue to keep stuff in my cart. I'm not to pray on that one, because I already keep stuff in the cart. I stay on Amazon. This is crazy. But no, congratulations with that, Doc. Like, this is amazing. This is huge. And even with the Essentia piece, like, it's just good to see my brothers that look like me doing some majorly great things. And I always hear you with the Essentia thing, and I'm like, yo, this is like for them to just endorse you like that is just huge. So I'm honored to even be connected to you, to even be connected to someone that they thought enough of to say, hey, I want to back this brother. It's hard. It's hard for us to, in a world where it's so competitive, but it makes you more humble. Well, like you said earlier, they thought enough of me to think of me to even ask me to be a sponsor, an endorser of it. So I love that. Pastor Chandra, I see you. Tell Trey congrats as well. She says her son is endorsed by Essentia. Now, Doc, this book too, whether it's the turnaround book or it's the children's book, I just thank you, man, for doing the work. Thank you for putting these major literary works out that I'm sure will be on the what is the book? Well, what is the tracking? The bestseller list.
Oh yeah,
The bestseller list, because these are definitely some great works with some great content, and even just I love when I saw the artwork for the children's book, how it was just so intentional. Like it's eye catching. So man, no, congrats with that as well. And I'm just honored to have you on tonight. Can you tell the people how to keep up with you?
Yeah. So I mean, if you want to keep up with me, I'm Gemar Mills on Facebook. I am Principal PAL on Instagram, Principal Mills. I'm Principal Mills on Twitter. And I would say those are the three outlets that I'll be on most. I'm most active on Instagram. It's where majority of the following exists. So I spend a lot of time there. Plus, I enjoy Instagram. They seem to enjoy recreating other popular aspects of other people's platforms. So I enjoy it too. But and if not there, if you just kind of want to see where to get the book at and things like that, you can go to jamarmills.store. And so I do have a couple of works up there. We're revamping the store as we finalize everything with Amazon, and we'll begin pushing those commercials out. And I hope you enjoy it, because I'm not necessarily a comedian, but the commercials have like a lot of satire and a catchphrase that I'm hoping convinces everybody to like, pick up a book and do some reading throughout their day.
Most definitely, most definitely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been my one-on-one with Dr. Gemar Mills, the awesome and amazing brother doing some great work in the community, in the educational realm, and just overall great, amazing brother. Brother, I'm so thankful to be connected to you. I appreciate you. This has been this week's edition of Dialogues with Doc. I will see you guys again on next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Doc, don't log out for me, okay? Hold on for me if you can. I will see you guys next Wednesday at 8 p.m. for another amazing edition of Dialogues with Doc. See you guys next week.